Hey everybody, and welcome back to my channel. Today's episode is on H.H. Holmes, America's first serial killer. Who was H.H. Holmes, you might be wondering? Well, H.H. Holmes was considered to be America's very first serial killer. Herman Webster Mudgett, also known as H.H. Holmes, was a bigamist and a con artist. Holmes, sometimes known as the Beast of Chicago, is thought to have murdered between 20 or up to 200 people. He murdered a large number of his victims in a specially built house that became known as the Murder Castle. He was captured in 1894, and 2 years after, he was hanged for his crimes. The Devil in the White City is a best-selling book, which was actually inspired by Holmes's gruesome crimes. Holmes's early life. Holmes, who came from a very wealthy family, had a very privileged upbringing and was reportedly exceptionally brilliant from a young age. Nevertheless, there were eerie hints of what actually laid ahead. He supposedly practiced animal surgery since he showed an interest in medicine. According to some reports, he may have been the cause of a friend's death. Numerous frauds and scams marked the beginning of Holmes's criminal career. He stole bodies while he was attending the University of Michigan as a medical student and used them to fabricate insurance claims. Holmes may have also experimented with the bodies. Murder Castle. Holmes relocated to Chicago in 1885 after graduating from university. He quickly obtained employment in a drugstore under the now famous alias of Dr. Henry H. Holmes. He finally assumed control of the company and was subsequently accused of murdering the former owner. Holmes had a complex house of horrors built, complete with a 3-story structure close by. His residential quarters and numerous tiny rooms where he tortured and murdered his victims were located on the upper floors. Additionally, there were chutes and trapdoors that allowed him to carry the dead to the basement, where he could dispose of them in numerous ways, or burn the remains in a kiln, even breaking down the corpses and offering the skeletons for sale to other medical universities. Holmes used his home as a hotel for guests during the 1893 Columbian Exposition. Sadly, a large number of visitors perished in what became known as the Murder Castle. Many of these victims, the exact number is unknown, were women who were lured, duped, and ultimately murdered. Holmes frequently became engaged to these women just to have them disappear out of thin air. The promise of work there enticed many other victims as well. Shortly after the World's Fair, Holmes departed Chicago to carry out his ideas, one of which involved a scam with an acquaintance named Benjamin Pitezel to get $10,000 from a life insurance company. They intended for Pitezel to stage his own death. After being imprisoned for a second scam, Holmes told fellow prisoner and infamous criminal Marion Hegepeth about the life insurance plan. Hegepeth knew Holmes as H.M. Howard. Later, Hegepeth provided detectives with information about their conversations. Even though Howard was eventually recognized by the police as Holmes, they failed to apprehend him in time to prevent his last killings. After killing Pitezel, Holmes persuaded his widow to allow him to leave with 3 of her 5 children. After informing her that her husband was still alive and, well, in hiding, but unfortunately, Pitezel fell victim to Holmes as well as the 3 children. Holmes murdered them. Holmes managed to actually elude capture for several weeks until being caught in November of 1893. He told police many stories while he was being detained, including one in which he only confessed to killing 27 people. Holmes lost his appeal after being found guilty in 1895. Between 20 and 200 individuals are thought to have been killed by Holmes in all. However, Holmes was only hanged for the murder of Pitezel on May 7 of 1896. The Beast of Chicago, who was buried in Philadelphia, was about 34 years old when he passed away. Devil in the White City's inspiration. Numerous books and films, such as Eric Larson's 2003 film The Devil in the White City, have focused on Holmes's life as one of the country's earliest serial killers. Unfortunately, Leonardo DiCaprio, Martin Scorsese, and Keanu Reeves were said to have different parts in the movie, but then unfortunately the film was canceled. And in Hulu in 2023 was supposed to do a TV series on H.H. Holmes, and that was also canceled as well. But you may be asking, was Holmes born like this, or did a serial killer emerge from him? Well, here are Holmes's very own words regarding his own identity. I was born with the devil in me. I could not help the fact that I was a murderer, no more than the poet can help the inspiration to sing. Well, that's it for this episode. Hopefully you enjoyed this historical episode. Please watch this episode here, watch this episode or playlist here, and please subscribe. I would greatly appreciate your support, so please like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you all in the next episode. Thanks, everybody.